that was just a little bit of a demo for the tab that I'm going to be showing you today for Bloom. I want to go over a few things before we dive into it. The first is the chord shapes. We're going to start with an A minor 7 chord, which is just a variation on the A minor. So the A minor is going to look like this. First finger on the first fret of the second string, second finger on the second fret of the fourth string, and then the third finger on the second fret of the third string, as I'm sure you know. And then next up is going to be the A minor 7, and all that is just lifting up your third finger to make sure that that third string is played open, and that's the G. You can hear the slight difference. There's the A minor 7 right here. Adds in a little bit of a nice sound, and that's going to be the first two shapes that we go through. And then the next one is going to be the C shape. I think you already know this chord, but we got the first finger on the first fret of the second string, the second finger on the second fret of the fourth string, then the third finger on the third fret of the fifth string. Nice. And then lastly, you got this G type shape, and for this one, you're going to want to use your your second finger, this one, on the third fret of the sixth string, and then your third finger on the third fret of the second string. And then for this one, you're actually going to also want to place your first finger right on the first fret of the second string, because it's going to be easy just to go like this. And there you're just lifting up the third finger and the first finger as you go down. Just like that, and it's pretty simple. Alright, so those are the only shapes you need to know. And the next thing that you may not have practiced before is the hammer-on. And what a hammer-on is just playing playing two notes in one pluck. So it's pretty easy to practice. All you got to do is pick a string. Let's just pick the fifth string right now. So that's your nice A string. And let's take your pointer finger, your first finger. You're just gonna go like this, and that is a hammer-on right there. You can hear how it goes to another note. So you pluck it, and there's two notes per one pluck. And you can do that for multiple notes. You can also do it like this. So it's pretty simple to understand, and once you can add it into your playing, it adds a great little bit of versatility to your playing. So for example, if I'm just playing something like this, right, it adds a nice some nice notes in there that you wouldn't otherwise get. Makes it sound a little bit different. It's awesome. Hammer-ons are great. So for this one, we got 3 hammer-ons. I'm going to just pull up the tab quickly. Here we go. You can see it in the top left corner of your screen right there. The little H's on the tab are going to be the hammer-on notation. And so we'll look at the first one. It says 0H2 on the A string. So that's the 5th string, second from the closest to you, and the 2 is referring to the 2nd fret, so you're just hammering on 0. Next one is 2-3. So like I was showing you on the 5th string, you can just do. So if you practice that. And then the last one is 0 hammer-on 2 on the D string. And those are the only 3 hammer-ons you need to know. So I'll just do them all. And this is what they sound like in the actual song. here it is slow. As you can hear, it sounds quite nice with those hammer-ons. It adds an extra note and adds in a little bit of variety. So first up for the tab, we're just going to go over the section, the first top section here. And so you're going to start with the A minor 7 shape, which is just the first fret on the second string and the second fret on the fourth string. And so for this whole song, you should be comfortable playing with your thumb, your first, second, and third fingers. These three: thumb, first, second, third finger on all the strings. So, and then I think there's a new mechanic, skill, I'm not sure what to call it, a new skill that you haven't played yet, and it's playing the bass note and another note on top at the same time. So as you can see, it's just, for example, picking the A string and the B string at the same time, gives it that nice bass note and top note right there. So that's the first little note right there. And so as you go down the tab, you don't have to play another note like that until the G. So you're going to do the first pluck, it's hard to hear it slow, but for this one, it's going to sound like, right? And so for this, I recommend having your thumb on the fifth string, first finger on the fourth string, second finger on the third string, and your third finger on the second string. For those, you're just gonna make sure that you're not moving your fingers around. You're always gonna play those strings with those fingers. Hopefully that makes sense. So up until the hammer-on, it's just gonna sound like this. Or sorry, let's go up to that little star in the 0, where it says there's a slight pause before you play the next note. It's just gonna be like this. Pluck the A and B string at the same time, and then you're going into single notes. So that's the first little part right there. And then obviously a little faster, it's going to sound like, sounds very nice. You can go even slower. Obviously slower doesn't sound quite as similar to the song, but make sure that you get it really slow first. So in this part, you're not actually moving any chords, you're just alternating fingers. So then the next part, the 2-1 there on the D and B string, is the lead up into the hammer-on. And that part is basically, if you were to play it without any of the picking, it's the switch from the A minor chord to the C chord. It's going to be like this. But when you play it all in the song, it's going to be like. So it is a little bit nicer sounding and adds a little bit of variety. So tips for the hammer-on. What you're going to do, after you play the first little part, you play the 2 and 1 on the D, B string. Play this part really slow so you can get used to the hammer-on. Oop. That's all I gotta do for now. And make sure to remember that while you're moving your middle finger, your second finger, from the D string to the A string, just like this, you're moving it up, You're picking it up and you're plucking. So as you pick it up, you play this 2, then the 1, and you pluck the A string as you've been doing before. There's no change. You just put it down. So you're not moving your right hand at all. If I play the whole thing without the left hand, it's just going to be like... It's all very similar. The only differentiation is now the left hand. And so it's actually a very simple switch from this A minor 7 shape to this, I guess you would call it like a B over C shape. And so the next part, when you do this to the 2-3 hammer-on, is exactly the same picking pattern as the one before. So you're going to do hammer-on to 2. And if I were to play that without the left hand, it would just be... So the only differentiation is the left hand. So make sure not to get confused on the right hand. Once you get the right hand down, it's fairly easy. The only thing that's hard is the left hand, and it may be confusing as you try to hammer on and play the same notes afterwards. Alright, so this whole second line in the tab is arguably the most difficult of the whole song, just because of the timing and the hammer-ons at the same time. So make sure to take it really slow when you're learning it. Alright, so this part played slowly is going to sound like this. I'm going to start from the beginning. Let's play that one more time. And there you have it. It's a little bit difficult, but it's important to remember to keep the same fingers on the right hand playing the same string each time. So don't move your fingers around. That'll confuse you a lot. And to remember that you should be playing the same pattern with your right hand. The only differentiation in the left hand is that the hammer-on is going to add in an extra note. So let's go over the first hammer-on part and then the second hammer-on part. So the first hammer-on part in the second line, starting with the 2-3, is going to be like this, very slowly. So you're already going to have your finger on the first string, first fret of the second string. It's going to be like this. So those are all the notes you need to play. Sound like that. One more time. Nice. And then next up is going to be that 0 hammer-on 2 to play the nice that leads nicely into the G, just like that. So the 0 hammer-on 2 is just going to be another version of the C chord. So basically all you're doing is you're playing these 3 strings, the D, G, and B strings. And without the hammer-on, this just sounds like... And so on that last note, you're just picking up that 2, the second fret, your second finger on the second fret, just picking it up. So to go from here to here. So it's the hammer-on. There you go, really slow. Putting it together. as you can see, as I play it faster, it gets a little bit closer to the actual song. Alright, and then we'll move on to the next part. We are going to be working on the descending notes, starting with the G shape. You're going to be using the 3rd fret on the B string and the 3rd fret on the low A string. I suggest using your 2nd finger, your middle finger, for the low E string and your 3rd finger for the B string. And it's just going to sound like this in real time. Sounds really nice, and it's pretty simple. All you're doing is you're taking the 3rd fret on the B string, taking your 3rd finger off, going to your 1st finger on the 1st fret on the B string, and then playing open. And you're always keeping this finger here. This is what we get. Pretty easy. And then so instead of just doing this, you're adding in filler notes. So for that one, for those filler notes, you're just basically playing these open strings all the time, and then the bass note and the top note. So to take it really slow, you start with the pluck on the 2 strings, the low and the high, then the 2 middle open strings, then the bass note and the high note, let's do that again, nice and slow. And so if I were to play this without the left hand, it would just be all the same. Slowing it down even more. And I'm sure you've heard of dynamics in your musical studies. So the filler notes are a little bit more quiet than the plucks on the double notes. So it's just going to sound like... So you really hear those ringing out. And so this part, once you get the picking pattern down, is relatively simple. Because it's the same thing the whole way through. And then obviously the first time through you play this little whatever whole thing riff, it's gonna sound like this. And then you go back into the... But the last time or the second time you play it, just stops there. And you go back in. Just like that. So it's actually not a hard song. There's some new things that might be in the song that you don't know quite yet, but you can easily practice with this song, and this will get you very comfortable picking with all of your fingers. The only one that you're missing is the pinky on your right hand, so that's no worries though, because a lot of songs don't really use the pinky as much. I'm definitely much better at using my thumb and my first 3 fingers on my right hand, but this song will definitely help you learn other songs in the future. You'll be able to learn a lot of different songs after you learn how to hammer on and pick with your 4 fingers. So hopefully this helps. Let me know if you have any questions, if you want me to explain something further. But hopefully it was slow enough and that you will be able to learn it with a lot of practice. Make sure to play it slow before you play it fast. You don't want to be doing something where you start and you have to stop because you have to look at your left hand and then play the next note because you can't switch your fingers fast enough. So you want to make sure that you're playing it at a speed where you can switch your fingers and it sounds very seamless. But remember to not take your fingers off the frets if you don't need to. So for this first 2 lines in the tab, you can have your finger always on the B string on the first fret. That's very helpful. And all you're doing is moving this finger. Here, 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 here. And then here, for the G, you're going to switch. You can even keep your finger on the first fret of the B string if you want. And then you're just descending. But you're never taking your finger off of this fret here the whole time. You'll get it. Comes with practice. Hopefully this helps. Best of luck to you in your practicing.